All right, today we're diving into a really critical moment in history. We're going to look at what happens when someone tries to steal a divine message for their own gain. This is the story of a false prophet and the intense, bloody conflict that erupted when truth and deception went head-to-head. So, let's get into it. We're exploring the story of Musaylimah, a man from the Arabian Peninsula. When he saw this new faith emerging, he didn't see a path to truth. Nope, he saw an opportunity. And that's the key thing here. He didn't just disagree with the message, he tried to completely hijack it for himself. What's so fascinating is that this whole story doesn't even start with a spiritual claim. It starts with just simple deception. Long before he ever called himself a prophet, Musaylimah was basically a student of illusion. He traveled all over, learning the tricks of the trade from soothsayers and charlatans, all to build this reputation that was based purely on magic, not on any real revelation. And he got pretty good at it. He mastered all these sleight of hand tricks to win people over. You have to imagine the kind of stuff he was doing. Things designed to create this whole aura of supernatural power. We're talking about stuff like making it look like he was mending a bird's broken wing, or somehow, impossibly, forcing an egg into a tiny, narrow bottle. These illusions, they were the entire foundation of his influence. But here's where it all starts to fall apart for him. When Musaylimah tried to mimic the divine, his whole act just crumbled. His attempts to copy the unique style of the Qur'an, well, they were described as nothing more than foolish and clumsy rhymes. The failure was so obvious, so complete, that even the local idol worshippers, who weren't even Muslims, could tell right away that his words were just hollow. They had none of the power, none of the eloquence of the real revelation. So you just knew a direct confrontation was coming, right? It was inevitable. And it happened in the 9th year after the Hijrah. That's the Prophet's migration to Medina. A delegation from Musaylimah's own tribe travels to meet the Prophet and accept Islam. And who's with them? Musaylimah himself. And this is where he decides to make his big, audacious move. So what does he do? He demands a share in prophethood. He literally asks to be named the Prophet's successor. The response he got was just swift and absolute. The Prophet just picks up this simple leafless palm branch from the ground and delivers this incredibly powerful rejection. You can't get much clearer than that. The message was obvious. Prophethood is from God. It's not some political office you can just barter for or share. So he goes home, but he's not deterred. In fact, his ambition just gets bolder. He sends a letter to the Prophet, and this time he's not asking, he's demanding. He actually writes, "From Musaylimah, the messenger of Allah, to Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. We have the right to half of the land, and the Quraysh has the right to half of it." Can you believe that? He's literally trying to turn a divine mission into a simple territorial dispute. Now, the Prophet's reply here is just profound. He doesn't get drawn into a political debate about who gets what land or who has what power. No. Instead, he responds with a verse from the Quran, and it just states this universal truth that all sovereignty, all ownership belongs only to God. And just like that, he completely elevates the conversation. This isn't about territory anymore. It's about a fundamental matter of faith. So Musaylimah has been rebuked, he's been exposed, but does he retreat? Nope. He escalates. He decides to break a sacred international custom, one that even his own pre-Islamic ancestors respected. And this decision, it led to an act of just unspeakable brutality. And this moment, wow, it just reveals the massive difference in character between these two men. The Prophet Muhammad, he was known for respecting all envoys, even from his worst enemies. Musaylimah, on the other hand, he takes the Muslim envoy, a man named Habeeb ibn Zayd, and tortures him. Every time Habeeb refused to acknowledge his false prophethood, Musaylimah ordered another piece of his body to be cut off, until this brave envoy was martyred for his faith. It's just horrific. So, you see, violence was one tool Musaylimah was using in his rebellion, but his deception was about to get a massive boost from something else. A truly shocking betrayal from within the Muslim ranks. An act of apostasy that would turn out to be incredibly dangerous. There was this man, a Rajal. He'd embraced Islam, he'd even memorized parts of the Qur'an. So the Muslims sent him to correct the people of Banu Haneefah, to bring them back to the truth. But what did he do? He apostatized. He joined Musaylimah and then he lied, falsely testifying that he himself heard the Prophet Muhammad agree to share prophethood. This was a huge deal. It gave Musaylimah this thin layer of legitimacy that he never, ever could have gotten on his own. Okay, so the situation had clearly reached its tipping point. You've got a murdered envoy, international customs are completely shattered, and you have this dangerous rebellion that's just being fueled by lies. The Caliph, Abu Bakr, knew something had to be done. So he tasked his most formidable general, the famous Khâlid ibn al-Waleed, with confronting Musaylimah and his followers.
And the warning Abu Bakr gave to his general, it's really telling. He stressed that Khalid needed extreme caution, extreme spiritual discipline. He warned him that this enemy was unlike any other he'd ever faced. And you can see why, right? This wasn't just another tribal skirmish over land. This was a war against a deeply held, fanatical belief in a total lie.
And all of this set the stage for one of the most brutal and critical conflicts in the early history of Islam, the Battle of Yamâmah. This was a war that wasn't just fought for land or for power. It was fought for the very definition of truth itself. And it leaves us with a question that, honestly, echoes through all of history.